Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, shall we? Today we're unpacking a truly incredible piece of ancient literature, the Book of Daniel. Now this text famously splits into two very distinct halves. On one hand, you've got these thrilling, earthy survival stories set right in the heart of royal palaces. But on the other hand, you have these dizzying, cosmic, apocalyptic visions stretching far into the distant future. It's a fascinating look at navigating the dangerous, everyday politics of human empires while holding on to the belief that a higher, divine authority is ultimately pulling the strings.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover exiles in Babylon, dreams of earthly empires, surviving the royal court, apocalyptic visions and beasts, wars of future kings, and finally, the time of the end. This path is going to guide us directly from the historical court tales you might already know, right into the dense prophetic visions you probably don't.
Part 1. Exiles in Babylon.
The text kicks off with a massive historical shift. We're pulled right out of the homeland and dropped into the center of a foreign superpower. And the timeline here is absolutely crucial. We skip around across the reigns of several different kings and empires, starting with the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, moving to Belshazzar, then suddenly over to Darius the Mede, and finally Cyrus the Persian. It's a bit of a roller coaster, but this shifting backdrop is the author's way of proving a major point. Kings and empires, they come and go, but Daniel and his friends, they remain. They are the continuous threads surviving decades of geopolitical chaos.
So, the story officially starts with a test. Our young Israelite exiles, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, straight up refuse the lavish royal food and wine from the king. Instead, they ask for a totally basic diet, just vegetables and water for 10 days. Sounds inadequate, right? Well, surprise, after those 10 days, they actually look healthier and better nourished than all the other youths who were feasting on the royal menu. It's a massive early victory. It lands them top spots in the king's service and sets up a huge running theme. Sticking faithfully to their traditions literally brings them success and unmatched wisdom inside this foreign royal court.
Part 2. Dreams of Earthly Empires.
Now, the tension really ramps up here. King Nebuchadnezzar has a terrible dream. But he doesn't just want an interpretation. He demands his wise men tell him what the dream actually was before they interpret it. I mean, talk about an impossible task, right? The astrologers are completely baffled. They basically say, look, no human on earth can do this. The king is furious and orders a mass execution of all the wise men. But then Daniel steps up. He gathers his friends, they pray, and the mystery is miraculously revealed to him in a night vision. He boldly walks up to the king and says, you know what? No human can do what you're asking, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries.
Section 3. Surviving the royal court. As we move forward, the stakes just get ridiculously high. Working in this royal court is a seriously dangerous job. Take the fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar builds this massive, 90-foot-tall gold statue and demands everyone worship it. Daniel's 3 friends refuse, so what happens? They're tossed into a furnace heated 7 times hotter than normal. Yet, incredibly, they survive completely untouched, and there's even a mysterious 4th figure walking around in the fire with them. Fast forward a few decades under King Darius, and we hit the infamous Lion's Den. A new law makes it illegal to pray to anyone but the king. Daniel refuses, keeps praying toward Jerusalem, and gets thrown to the lions. And just like his friends, he's miraculously saved. These action-packed sequences are absolutely brilliant. They hammer home this motif of divine deliverance, showing this unyielding refusal to bow to earthly kings, totally regardless of the immediate danger.
Then we hit chapter 5. And man, this is an iconic moment in literature. King Belshazzar is throwing this massive, arrogant feast, literally drinking wine out of sacred gold goblets looted from the temple in Jerusalem. Suddenly, right in the middle of the party, fingers of a human hand appear and write cryptic words on the plaster wall. And yes, this is exactly where we get the phrase, the writing on the wall. It terrifies the king so badly, the text literally says his knees knock together.
None of the king's experts have a clue what it means, so they bring in Daniel. He looks at this cryptic Aramaic message and just decodes it seamlessly. Min, he says, means God has numbered the days of your reign. Tekel means you've been weighed on the scales and found wanting. And Perez means your kingdom will be divided and given to the Medes and Persians. The turnaround here is staggering. The text tells us that very night, literally that same night, Belshazzar is killed and Darius the Mede takes over. The transition of power is just instantaneous.
Part 4. Apocalyptic Visions and Beasts.
Okay, so this is where we get some serious tonal whiplash.
We're transitioning from surviving angry kings in the royal court to some truly terrifying cosmic visions. Notice how these two seemingly different parts of the text actually map perfectly onto each other. Back in chapter 2, Daniel interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a giant statue, head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron. But now in chapter 7, Daniel has his own vision. No shiny metals this time. Instead, he sees these grotesque beasts coming out of a churning sea. The gold head corresponds to a lion with eagle's wings. The silver chest maps to a bear with ribs in its teeth. The bronze belly matches a four-headed leopard. And those iron legs? They align with a terrifying fourth beast with iron teeth and 10 horns. It's a brilliant structural move. The text takes that earlier, somewhat majestic view of 4 earthly empires and shows it's actually the exact same timeline as Daniel's nightmarish vision of predatory beasts destroying the earth.
And these visions, they get wildly specific. In chapter 8, Daniel sees a huge clash between a ram and a goat. We don't even have to guess what they mean, because the text explicitly tells us. The angel Gabriel explains that the ram represents Media and Persia, and the shaggy goat represents Greece. The goat shatters the ram, its prominent horn breaks off, and 4 new ones grow in its place. Out of those, the smaller horn emerges and just grows incredibly powerful. This new horn represents a ruler who commits absolute spiritual rebellion. I mean, he attacks the starry host, desecrates the sanctuary, and halts the daily sacrifices. It's this precise timeline where military conquest merges with complete spiritual devastation, a total nightmare for the faithful.
This brings us right into chapter 9. Daniel realizes the prophesied 70 years of Jerusalem's desolation are almost up, so he starts praying in deep repentance. But then Gabriel shows up again with an incredibly expanded timeline. He tells Daniel, look, it's not just 70 years, it's actually 77s. And this time period is decreed to finish transgression, put an end to sin, and bring in everlasting righteousness. So it takes this immediate historical hope of returning from exile and blows it up into a massive cosmic timeline for eradicating evil itself.
Section 5. Wars of Future Kings.
Now let's see how all of this builds into an insanely detailed, rapid-fire account of future warfare. Chapter 11 basically reads like a relentless military ledger. It tracks this dizzying, back-and-forth war between the King of the South and the King of the North. We're talking massive armies, broken alliances, failed political marriages, and invasions that sweep through like a flood. But eventually, all this chaotic geopolitical violence funnels down into a laser-focused attack on the Holy Covenant. The King of the North's forces desecrate the temple fortress, abolish the daily sacrifice, and set up what the text chillingly calls the abomination that causes desolation. It's where earthly warfare becomes a literal existential threat.
Finally, Section 6. The Time of the End.
The crucial point here is how all this earthly warfare, all these shifting empires and crazy visions, culminates in a final, cosmic resolution. In chapter 12, we're told that Michael, the great prince, will arise during a time of unprecedented distress. But then we get this absolutely profound promise. Multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. Think about that. Up until now, the text has been all about surviving the present moment. But here, it introduces a vivid, undeniable promise of bodily resurrection. It's making the claim that death is not the end of the story, and that ultimate justice is going to reach right past the grave.
As the text wraps up, the angel gives this final, highly specific, and honestly somewhat mysterious timeline. He mentions 1,290 days, and then declares, "Blessed is the one who waits for, and reaches the end of the 1,335 days." It's a final, powerful encouragement to the faithful. It's basically saying, endure. Hold on through the absolute worst of the distress, because a calculated end date to the suffering has already been set by a higher power.
And that brings us to our final thought. The very last instruction Daniel receives is to go his way, to rest, and to close up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. This whole text takes history, which can feel like a random, chaotic cycle of rising and falling empires, and transforms it into a deliberate path moving toward a definitive, divine conclusion. So what does it truly mean to seal up this vision? And how does reading history through this apocalyptic lens permanently alter the way we view the timeline of our own world today? It's a profound question left for every single one of us to grapple with. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.